All right, everybody. I'm very pleased to welcome Lynn Harris to the Jeff Macolino podcast. How are you today, Lynn?
I'm hanging in. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm doing pretty well.
Good.
I've I filmed a movie in June, um,
Cool.
and for the first time ever, I lost weight while filming that movie. Usually, you're eating crap just quickly as you can, and that's. But I lost weight, and I mean, filming a movie is, I'm sure you've been there. You're very active, or well, I
Yes.
was the director and an actor, so there was no sitting down. There was a lot of movement. So I've been on this real kick the last I guess it's been 15 days of just like I am getting hours of exercise in every single day, and I feel great.
Fabulous. Summer goals.
Yeah, yeah. Well, little things like today, I'm like the grocery store is like 3/4 of a mile from my house. I walked there. I wasn't getting that much. I walked there, walked back. I'm like, that's better than taking a car ride.
See, now next time you can like just increase the workout, right? You walk there and then you buy like, bags of ice and a few watermelons and work up a sweat.
Yeah, I did. I did think that as I was walking back. I'm like, I guess I could do curls with this one bag I got, but
Right. These here hot pockets, could really be part of my workout.
yeah, yeah, I
Hot
did.
pocket presses.
I did have the I don't want anyone to see me. I don't want to look like I'm exercising.
I'm gonna look
Uh,
like I'm using burritos as hand weights, but okay. Yeah.
Yeah, hey, I wouldn't judge someone for that, but I would judge myself for some reason. I think that's all.
Fair
That's
enough.
how we all are.
Fair enough.
That's the stand-up comedy brain, or really just comedy writer in general. I feel like everyone I've met and or been around for any period of time, it's like you realize there's a voice inside your head that's like everyone is judging you for everything you do. I was just listening to a comedian's podcast, and he was like, "Oh, people recognized me, and I couldn't enjoy the concert because the whole time I was just like everyone's staring at me and judging every little thing I do." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, that's." I think that's just a universal thing with anybody at all who wants to do comedy for a living.
Listen, it's universal also. I'm a parent of teenagers
Hmm.
and the number of and they're pretty cool. Like let me just stipulate that they're pretty cool. I don't want to throw them entirely under the bus, but like it is like when they'll be like, "Oh, no, that's embarrassing." And I'll be like, "What you're referring to is something you'd be doing like alone in the dark at a movie theater. Like no one like me buying you popcorn, let's say, like or sitting with your parent, I'm like, no one's they literally can't see you.
Yes.
But my point is everything is embarrassing and everybody is watching. Although these days it's also kind of true because like everywhere my kids go, they're like, "Oh, I know that kid from Instagram." And it's like some other New York high school kid who they actually don't know, but then they are watching that kid. So,
Oof.
then they are like check sort of seeing what they're wearing, and so I guess we are all being watched. Sorry. Oh well.
It's kind of a weird dichotomy of like there is the fact that no one is actually paying attention to anyone else because they're watching their screen as
That's
they
also
don't
true,
care
right?
what's but there's the flip side, like you said. There it really is both. They might be watching you on their phone
I was
instead of
literally going
watching
to
you
say
in
that, right?
person.
You think they're not paying attention, but they are actually finding your TikTok. Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh, we
Mhm.
live in a weird. I'm glad I'm not a teenager nowadays.
Yeah, it has its challenges.
Yeah, I imagine so. There's some weird stuff because I have a 15-year-old daughter and my son's going to turn 13 in a few months.
So you're living it.
Yeah, and luckily neither one of them have any interest in social media at this point,
Oh,
which is great.
yeah.
Although I have told my daughter, like, I'll pay you if you run my social media so I don't have
No,
to.
there's that.
You
There's
probably
that.
can do it better than me.
The number of times I hand my phone to them and say, "Can you?" Yeah. Um, I think it's a little in New York, the rite of passage often, not always, often happens between, and which I mean getting a phone, usually a smartphone, um, generally happens between middle school and high school. It has nothing to do with like, oh, now you're of age or anything like that. It has to do, no, sorry, but between elementary school and middle school, because the way, and this is a topic for a whole other podcast, but the way the public schools work here is that you might go to school in middle school near your house. You might not. You might be getting on a subway. You might not be going across, from the Bronx to Queens, but you might be taking a subway. Both my kids did. And which is no big deal. Subway is safe, but you're just like not you're not shouting distance from home.
Right.
And so that's typically when kids get phones, is entering, sixth grade, seventh grade, depending on when they enter middle school, just as, a tracking device. And some parents like, kind of get into it and get their kids like a like, the least smartphone they can find.
Yeah, like
But
an
the
old
most of
flip
the rest
phone.
or something just so they can call them. But most of us just kind of throw up our hands and, and all right, it's phone time. Because then you also realize how handy dandy it is to be able to just like text your kid, not even, and I don't mean like track them or worry about them. I just mean like, can you pick up some paper towels?
Yeah.
Is also super handy. But yeah, so kids here tend to be pretty young when they get some sort of phone. And it's hard to stop it, especially because it really is true that the majority of them have it. So you don't want to, I mean, I know a couple, no shade to the parents, but like, I wouldn't want to be the kid, like the only kid without one,
Yeah, that would
a few of
be.
them are holdouts, but yeah.
Yeah, and I respect it, but it's also like I like what you say. My kids have my daughter started high school last year, and she was in plays, and she didn't know what time rehearsal was going to be and what days
Right.
so it was nice to be like, hey, I need to be picked up at 4:30 today. Okay, I'll stay sober
Okay.
until 4:30.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it is convenient, that's for sure. Although my
Yeah.
son never responds to any text messages or phone calls, he is the worst.
Well, that is a thing. That is also a thing. Yeah.
Oh, my
Um,
daughter will reply if I send her like a reminder text at like 2 a.m. Like she's asleep. Nope, she will respond.
oops.
Yeah, yeah,
Sorry, I didn't mean to wake you, or did I?
yeah. That's the thing. It's like I hope I woke you up because otherwise, what are you doing up at 2 in the morning?
Exactly. 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 But yeah, it is a whole new world, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It is. It's there's always going to be hurdles to navigate, I guess, no matter what time you live in. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, I
Yep.
mean, overall, it's an interesting, and this kind of segues into gold comedy a little bit because it what where my brain was going was the abundance of opportunity. Opportunity maybe isn't the right word, but the abundance of ability to get things out there.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, YouTube is, I guess, the easiest example. Any single person in the world can film something on their phone and throw it on YouTube. You can do a short,
Yep.
you can do a comedy set, whatever. Now, that being said, there's the hurdle of getting people to actually watch what you do. um, that's the trickier step, but it is kind of a golden age to be able to at least make content. There's not really that high of a barrier of entry.
No, no. I mean, I won't talk about my kids this whole time, but like my one of my kids, my younger one who's 16, hasn't really worked that hard at this, but he has a couple of like, niche hobby TikToks. And he'll be like, oh man, I only got 500K, likes on that one. And I'll be like, what? Like,
That's
oh,
insane.
what? And he's not even like an influencer. Like, that's just like a normal day. So of course I'm like, how can we monetize this? Or can you also unload the dishwasher? But anyway, no, but it's true. And it doesn't mean that um being a comedian is easy. It doesn't mean that breaking into comedy is easy. But what it does mean, the fact that we have all of these different platforms, and opportunities to just to create and then also be seen, what I think it does do, I think it does open doors that weren't there before. And I also think it gives people more opportunities to hone the type of comedy that they want to do and are good at. Because you see people who, maybe they're like not on TikTok, but they figured out Instagram, and they're absolutely great at doing one particular thing over and over and over on Instagram, a certain character, a certain take, a certain whatever. Or you see, you know, uh web series, people
Hmm.
who, it's still, it's not a light lift, but the capacity to create your own web series is like in my hand right here, she says, holding up her phone. Of
Yeah.
course you need good lighting and good sound, yes, of course, I don't mean to make it sound too easy, but the capacity to make a web series, and we all know that, Insecure, Drunk History, and Broad City came from web series, and people are still, now they're so fancy that people are calling it mid-form content. Now it's like legit. So just all of the different ways that you can, rather than have to sort of decide, okay, I do stand up, I do sketch, I do improv, um, or or all three. I just think that there is so many ways to sort of let your funny flag fly in ways that are discoverable, um, by people who can pay you to do things, and authentic, and that really allow you to build an authentic brand that you might not have been able to do so easily otherwise.
Yeah, it is. It's a good place to be in for comedy as a whole, I feel like, because yeah, you really, it's interesting. I'm trying to think of an intelligent way to say it, and of course, it's coming from me, so it's not going to be intelligent. But but it's there are so many different kinds of comedy out there. Like it's I tell my mom all the time, like this is not made for you. This is made for a dirtbag alcoholic like me. Like, it's not. Uh, and I write things that are hopefully targeting different people. But I had like a sketch show I'm working on that I have sketches filmed. I just need to edit it. And it's called the Dads and Drinks Show. It's a lot of humor about being drunk and some humor about being a dad. The target audience is probably men between 30 and 50, not, my mom who's in her 60s and doesn't like cursing or drinking or
No,
sex or
she's not
anything.
your market. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
no, she's not my market. It is interesting too that I do have what I think is a genius idea for, and I almost got a pretty well-known comedian in the movie I shot in June. Um, I do think that this is kind of off topic, but there's a big untapped potential in stand-ups being cast in comedy movies because it
Hmm.
really doesn't happen that much, and they're funny, so it makes it, they should be able to pull off. Yeah, not all of them, not every comedian can act. I'm not saying that, but um, I just think of like if the comedian who actually he emailed me and was apologetic that he wanted to do it and his manager maybe dropped the ball. But Joe List, who's a comic up in New York, if he came down here, he would sell out, 6 shows in a weekend in Tampa
Yeah.
and make thousands and thousands of dollars. His podcast gets 250,000 people a week. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, so it's like, well, why? And I know he wants to be in movies because he does shorts. He did a movie, 4th of July, where he was the lead actor, and he can't act. And it's like, what? I mean, it seems like if he was in the movie, I'd get 250,000 people who would probably be interested in watching it because
Yeah.
he'll talk about it on his podcast and whatever else. So it's like, why aren't comedians cast more in? There's a weird untapped market between like Hollywood and comedy that is maybe being starting to break down. I don't know, but it is interesting how because I know like Nate Bargatze I think is
Uh-huh.
shooting a TV show, and I know
Yeah.
Tom Segura just got a show on Netflix, which it's its own brand of comedy.
Yeah.
It's very uh different. I find half of it funny and half of it disgusting. But that's that's what he likes to do. So
Yep. Yep. Well, Amy Schumer started out doing stand up. Then she went into sketch, I think. I could be wrong. So your listeners can at me. But I believe she started out in stand up and then yeah, then
yeah.
then she had her sketch show, then films and television. So she's one example. I know there are more out there. But yeah, sure, come find us.
Yeah, it's that's one thing that if I can if I well, the long story for everything, but the movie and I was the executive producer of this movie that I shot in June, and I don't have the final budget yet, and there's more to be spent, but it's under $40,000 for the to make the
Like,
movie. And I
yeah,
was talking to an investor who came to set one day, and she's like, I don't know how this is possible. She's like, I've invested 250K in multiple movies, and I was one of many. Like, I thought you needed millions. And I'm like, you don't. And one of those reasons I say is that get some stand-ups who want to get into acting will do it for less than,
yeah.
The Rock or what. I'm just using a
For example, yeah.
yeah. I guess there's not a stand-up that looks like The Rock. In fairness, it's like don't think
Yet. Yeah.
yeah. I was talking about this the other day. I'm like the only man there's I'm forgetting his name. There aren't many leading men in stand-up, I would say. Joel McHale is one of them.
Sure.
Um, or he should be a leading man, but he's really not. He doesn't he gets less work
Yeah.
than you'd think.
I know it's weird. He was just on Yellow Jackets, and it was a character that like it's fine. He was fine, but like it was a character that like did not play to his strengths. Like it was he was sort of a he was like just like a sort of an extra weird asshole. And like I was like, what did and I'm like, but he's funny. Let him be funny. He
Yeah.
wasn't fun. I guess my point is he wasn't funny at all. Like not funny at all. Not even
Wow.
funny. I mean he didn't try and fail. I just mean the role was not funny. And if you've seen Community, you're like, this is a waste of Joel McHale,
Yeah.
or anything else. So it was a peculiar I'm glad he got the work, but it was a peculiar choice, I thought.
I
So
I I would agree. I actually watched a movie. God, I'm forgetting the name of every actor in the movie, but he was like the fifth character like he was not one of the leads. It was
yeah, it's bizarre.
and he was
Oh,
a bad guy.
right, right. And he was the abusive chef on The Bear. I'm like, why does he keep getting like did no one watch Community? Has no one seen this man tell a joke? Like he was so scary on The Bear as to be like I mean, he was so mean on The Bear as to be like actually scary, like
Wow.
actually make you uncomfortable when he's on that, which I guess is testament to like he's good at acting.
I
But like
guess maybe
a
that's what
lot
he's
of
trying to
guys could do
show.
that, I guess. But like it seemed peculiar to me. Like it even took me a minute to recognize him.
Oh yeah, this is it.
I'm like, weren't you just?
California King. Sorry, I was
Oh
obsessed
no,
over.
that's fine.
And yeah, he was behind Travis Bennett, who you'd know him if you saw him, Jimmy
Yeah,
Tatro, who's the same way,
yeah.
Victoria Justice. Those were probably the three main characters, and then Joel McHale. And it's like,
Okay.
huh, that's I would have, I would have said he is the biggest name out of those actors. Uh,
Yeah. Fire
but
your manager, Mikhail.
yeah, I guess unless he really is just trying to
Maybe he
showcase a
wants to.
dark, yeah, I mean
Yeah, and
that's
be known as like a serious actor or something.
oh God, I watched a movie with Kevin James, who is the goofiest guy in the world in everything he's ever done, and he played a Nazi skinhead who broke out of prison and was just viciously murdering people and torturing
Wow.
people. And
Wow.
it was like it was not funny.
Wow.
And it
Yeah,
was
no,
like,
thank you.
well, that's a choice, I
That's a
guess.
choice.
Like he clearly wanted to show off his acting, but it's like, wow, I have a hard time seeing Kevin James with a swastika on tattooed on the back of his skull. It's like
Right. And
this is
yeah,
this is the King of Queens guy.
Right. I can imagine, like, I mean, look, he needs to work, doing it for the work, but at the same time, it doesn't really build the brand of his that we know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, it's
Hardly.
yeah, it's interesting. It's less confusing when like Vince Vaughn he was a serious actor before he kind of became in the comedy acting one of the bigger ones for a while. And now he's fading back into more serious, dark roles, but that makes sense for him. But like Kevin James, it's like you were a stand-up. You then you had a sitcom that lasted forever.
Right.
You found Adam Sandler, and God, you want to get in Adam Sandler's crew. That's
True.
that's the key
You
to
know,
success.
who's pretty good at doing both is being funny and being not funny is Aubrey Plaza.
Oh
Like she's
yeah,
really, really funny. She was so I don't know if you've seen My Old Ass. It's like a serious-ish role, but she's also extremely funny in it. It's like a sweet comedy. It's not a goofball, like screwball comedy. But then she did that a couple of she did that film where she like gets into crime to survive, and it was like really kind of a little dark, and she was really believable and really, I didn't have trouble switching from, her Parks and Rec persona to
yeah,
that. Um, so
yeah. She
so
is
all hail
good.
Aubrey Plaza. I love her.
That she was in what was the movie? She stalks Elizabeth Olsen in Ingrid Goes West, I think.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of a mix of, I mean, she's playing a weird character, but there's some darkness there. Yeah,
Yeah.
she rides that line really well.
Yep. Yep. Love her.
Yeah,
They
that's
should just all
actually
come to us for casting advice, really.
well. So the funny thing is, since you brought up Aubrey Plaza, I've written. I've been in a weird place since because we from June 1st to June 30th was the dates we were filming the movie. I had an Airbnb that was a mile away from my house where we did most of the filming. So July 1st was like, oh, I need to be a person again. This is going to be an adjustment. And I just started writing a script and I finished it in 4 days. Then I wrote another one, the 6th to, I finished it on the 10th. And I'm like, God, I need to start writing another one because I just have this weird. It took me 5 years to finish my first screenplay, and I wrote two in 11 days. Um,
You're
but
on fire.
yeah, the funny thing is, I like to go to ChatGPT and say, okay, who would you cast in this movie? That's kind of my way of being like, did I write these characters the way I thought?
Nice.
And
Nice.
almost every script, including another one I wrote earlier this year, Aubrey Plaza is always one of the females, and I'm like, I guess that's I guess that's just how I write women, like the lead woman, or I think this last one she was like the second lead woman, but still a significant character. I'm like, I guess that's just where my head goes when I write women, but that's not normal.
Well, I mean, I think I mean, she always plays characters with like complexity, so
Hmm.
like that all it at least suggests that you've written a character with complexity. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, it'd be great if she wants to be in the movies.
Yeah. Hey, ChatGPT said you're perfect for this.
Yeah, no, it's funny. ChatGPT knows me well enough to know the role I wrote for myself all the time. So it
Right.
recommends
That's
me.
funny. That's funny.
Um, but yeah, it is
You'd
it
be
is
perfect for
interesting.
this, Jeff. Yeah, that's
Well,
funny.
I had Danny McBride for the first time ever was recommended for one of my roles, and I was so excited because I get compared to Danny McBride all the time,
Oh, yes.
and I'm like, oh, that would be great. I could actually be in a movie with him, and I'm like, and it that character was aside from the fact I wrote him to be an Australian dude because I literally put
Okay.
like mates and stuff, like I used words that an Australian would
Right.
use. Aside from that, his persona fits the character perfectly. So I'll just swap him out for Southern voice
Sure. Sure.
things. Just swap out the mates for y'all.
Sure. Sure. Easy peasy. That's funny. That's a great idea, though. That's a great way to do a check, on how you've written the characters. I like that.
Yeah, I've told that to a lot of writers, not only for screenplay stuff, but for novels. Like
Mhm.
this is how not that ChatGPT is some sort of god that actually knows what, because Lord knows, I'm sure if you've ever used it at all, it doesn't understand comedy. It does not get comedy at
Yeah.
all.
It's helped us do a few, like we've used it for, like I use it for like brainstorming or like taglines, or we were like when we were trying to think of this year's April Fool's joke, we like last year we, instead of gold comedy, we did golf comedy and we turned everything into golf. And then this year we decided to do old comedy, and just make everything about like vaudeville, and so, or like VHS, like whatever. And so it was really good at, it didn't write all our jokes, but I just said like, okay, we're changing, April Fools, we're changing from gold comedy to old comedy. I'm like, just brainstorm a ton of jokes for me,
Yeah.
and then it went blah, 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 blah. And then like three of them were funny, but we didn't need more than three. And then we like ripped on them ourselves. And it would have taken us, not that we're not funny, but it would have taken us much longer to just, because you have to go through all the bad ideas in a brainstorm until you get to the good ones. And so it just did exactly that for us in five
Yeah.
minutes. So, and it did come up with some funny ones. So we just built on them. It just gave us the starting ideas and then we built from them. So it wasn't the worst. I mean, I wouldn't use it to like write a scene, or like
Right.
write stand up, but just the kind of riffing, taglines. Sometimes I'll just say like, what's a funnier word to end this sentence on? What's a punchier word? What's
Yeah.
a shorter word? If I'm just stuck, things like that. But you have to be really precise.
Yeah, yeah. I've used it as a like I'm like I know this scene is too long. Where's the fat? Like help me
Yeah.
trim the fat here.
Just a fast writing partner,
Yeah, yeah. No,
or writing. Yeah. Yeah.
it does. I like that it does. Like I was oddly enough. I don't know if I was. I don't know why this was something I was thinking in my head. Um, of like I'm like if I was creating a writer's room for like a sitcom, whatever. Who would I want in there? And I'm going through and I'm like, you need that voice of reason, and maybe Chat GPT can somewhat be that. Not that they don't contribute much, but they're like my friend Daniel and I wrote a pilot, and he sent it to a girl who went to some writing class with him. I didn't know her, and she had a Zoom call with us and was basically like, "All right, I can tell two boys wrote this script. Uh, any woman who reads this script is going to hate this character and this character unless you soften them." And I'm like, well, one character you're supposed to hate, the other one you're not. So thank you. That's
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it was simple that when it was just the two of us, we didn't have someone to like pull us back. Like, no, that's too much, too much.
Yep.
Let's slow down, pump the brakes. Like, it was funny, and then you just took it too far. Where not that it's not funny, but that most people aren't gonna. I would again kind of like I don't know if you've seen any of Tom Segura's show on Netflix. It's kind of insane. And sometimes I think he does that, where it's like, that was funny until you went there. And now I'm like, oh, that's gross. But I understand it's still funny. It's just beyond where my personal, where
Right.
my gut allows me to enjoy it, if that makes
Right. And he's
sense.
kind of figured out that like this is where like that's what he does. And he's kind of figured it out. And it's, and
Hmm.
his audience and his position is like, take it or leave it. This is what I do. Because he's figured out how far he can go. And maybe that's too far for some people, but that's his brand.
Yeah.
So, and people expect it from him or whatever. So, so he's figured it out. But like before you figured it out, it's good to, whether it's in a pilot script or stand up, it's good before you've been around as long as he has. It's important to push and pull and push and keep sort of testing the boundaries until you figure out where you're comfortable, which is also probably where your audience is comfortable, I think.
Yeah, it is a tough, it's an interesting give and take, especially writing. So one thing I did earlier this year when we were casting for Thanksgiving again, the movie I just shot, when we were casting for that, I was just waiting for auditions. My kids were on a cruise with my ex-wife. I was just like, I got nothing to do. I got just shit-faced every night. And I wrote an entire script that I did not remember writing. It was all
That's what I
blackout
thought you were
drunk.
going to say. Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah. So and I was so bold to register that script with the WGA, and
Okay.
invite four friends to do a Zoom call and a table read of that script.
How did it turn out?
There were some typos. It was
Or
hilarious.
some typo.
It definitely the part that I'm like, ooh, I would not have written this sober, and I think that's maybe what makes it great. But there's it's a first of all, it's to me, it's funny because it's like a mob-based movie, and that's just ridiculous in the modern day. But it's intentionally like not. I mean, Italians are the only group of people you can make fun of. I'm Italian. They're the only group of people you can make fun of and never get any back. Although I do not use the word mob or mafia in the movie. That's a family thing. uh, but uh, it was the characters, the old men who were in the mob. I wrote one of them to be pretty racist, and I'm like, ooh. And I didn't use like the worst words, but I used some words that I'm like, ooh, I don't like that I wrote that. But it's like, but that's a character. He's supposed to be. You're not supposed to. He's a bad person, and it's like,
Right.
I don't know. I guess it's good I was blackout drunk. Like I didn't use the N word, but it's like I used a couple words that were like,
Yeah, you never
ah.
know. With things like that, you gotta like the characters kind of gotta earn it, and the movies kind of gotta earn it. And like, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. I'm just saying that generally when people can get away with, or when movies can get away with like really despicable characters, somehow the movie itself has earned it in some way. Like they're extra despicable, or you already know like they're like beyond redemption, or
Yeah,
that they have some sort of tragic fatal flaw that made them that way, that doesn't excuse it, but at least allows you to see them as full three-dimensional or whatever it is. So yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky.
yeah. The good news is the character I wrote for myself always reacted like, "What is this the 1940s? What the fuck are
Right,
you
right, right,
saying?" So
right,
I didn't just like use like there was like a what the f like
right,
does everyone in the mob talk like it's the 1940s? I didn't use the word mob, but
right.
but
So like
something
the
to that
voice of the
effect.
movie was kind of correct, was a corrective.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I didn't let it go at the very
yeah,
least.
yeah. Okay.
Uh, but yeah, it also the word fuck is in that script like 117 times. It's pretty vulgar, but and generally it's pretty sparingly in my writing. And even when I did stand up, I recorded a few sets and let my mom listen. She's like, "Your comedy is pretty clean for someone who talks so filthy at family functions in front of his own children." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not trying to be." And it's not clean comedy, but I'm not cussing.
Yeah.
I not because I'm against it, obviously, but just because it's like, yeah, but a well-crafted joke doesn't need a cuss word unless it needs a cuss word, and then if you use it sparingly, it hits harder. Like it's
Exactly.
like if you say fuck every sentence, if you want a punchline to be fuck, no one's gonna it's not gonna register because it's just
It will
another
not land.
word.
Exactly. Exactly. I totally agree. I totally agree. Yeah.
It, it
Um, so you want to hear more about gold comedy?
mm-hmm. I do. Yes, that was the next thing I was going to say when I got
That's
the ice out of
fine.
my throat.
I know. I jumped in when I wasn't taking a sip of my own, when I wasn't myself hydrating. I'm like, he's hydrating. Jump on it. No. Yeah. So we have fun. We teach the same thing in our stand-up class, which is, if you're gonna swear, choose it. Sure, but choose it well. But backing out of that, we're a comedy school, I would say the comedy school and professional network and content studio, where women in particular, but also really all the others, and we definitely have a couple of straight white dudes hanging around too because they like our vibe. It's where they can amp up their comedy careers, dig into their creative side hustles, join a powerful professional network, and make funny stuff that gets seen on all kinds of stages and screens. So we have a web series on Fox Soul now, which is a fast channel. We were talking earlier about like all the different platforms that are available. we have a web series now that is on Fox, but since it's on Fox's Fast channel, which is like Fox's Tubi, basically,
Hmm.
um, it's like that. It's like Fast stands for free ad supported television, so it's basically like cable but streaming.
Yeah.
Um, so we created a web series called Late Bloomers. That's hilarious. That's now streaming on Fox Soul. We have more stuff that's going to be on that is on and is going to be on another comedy fast channel called Twisted Mirror. And we have people, making solo shows that they're touring. We have people who's, starting like some people join us already established, but then some people join us earlier on and then wind up like, developing not just developing their own careers in their area wherever they live, but then, I'm thinking of one woman right now who is who started out a few years ago with us, um, very dedicated to trying stand up. She was like, this is my next thing. I'm going to do this. And she is. And she lives in North Carolina, but she's bringing a solo show to New York in September. So it's mostly online. So that makes it really easy for people to access. And Rachel Dratch is an advisor. We have teams making sketches, making digital sketches. So like, like Lonely Island or I Think You Should Leave. Um, but mostly women, unlike them. And we love them. We love them. We love them. But
Everyone loves that.
they need, of course we do. They just could use a little more diversity. But and generally, the idea is that comedy, as you well know, is hard for everybody. And I did stand up in the '90s, so I was in the trenches then, and two things are true at the same time, even though they're opposites. One is things are so much better than they used to be, and the other is that things are terrible. So, and they're both true at the same time. So, women can be Ghostbusters now. Women are showrunners and running writers' rooms, and there's like so many women, women and at least just non, you know, dudes doing stand up on Netflix and Hulu and all. There's just it's great. At the same time, I was looking at the lineups of a really famous club here in New York. They have a bunch of rooms, so they had like even on a Sunday night, they had like six shows, and every single one of those shows had one woman on the lineup in 2025. And that's what it was like in the '90s. So I'm like, someone's not paying attention, and it's frustrating because, and Cameron Esposito said this. She's one of my favorites. She said this that when just for stand up, again we happy to talk about any kind of comedy, and Gold does all kind of comedy, but kinds of comedy. But just for speaking of stand up, when if a lineup is like all white dudes and then one woman, let's say, or one non whatever, just one someone different, it's actually better for the white dudes if there are fewer of them on the lineup because
Hmm.
they stand out more and people walk out of the show not being like, oh, I love that guy. Which one was he? The one who talked about, his teenage kid. Like they don't, they all blend together no matter how good and
Yeah.
funny they are.
Yeah.
And so it's just better for everybody. And I know that it's true that, I know dudes have complained that they feel like they don't get the job that they used to, or that, and I understand that. And I'm not happy. I'm not like, yes, you got to come and like, I'm not happy about that when someone else, when they feel they don't get a job just because they're a white dude, even if they're super funny. But at the same time, that's what's been true. Like, you have no idea how many times people like me have heard a booker say, sorry, I already have a woman on the lineup.
Mm.
So, like, basically, it's hard for all of us. And so, we're trying to make it easier for the people for whom it tends to be the hardest, because at the end of the day, it just makes comedy better.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I think it's interesting. I'm curious if my listeners would be surprised at my kind of thoughts on this, because there is a weird there yeah, female comedians have a tough time with a lot of different aspects of it. And I think sometimes I'm like, I don't. There's a couple of comedians who, female comedians who are, and I'm not faulting them, but they go hard in the woke paint, we'll say, and it's like that's not the comedy that's hitting nowadays.
Hmm.
Like it or not, it's not trending upwards at the
Hmm.
moment. Like the and again, I'm not taking shots at anybody because it like I don't enjoy Mike. I'm going to talk about a white guy here to just make it clear. I don't enjoy Mike Birbiglia that much unless I'm in a
Hmm.
real mood because he doesn't do jokes. He tells
Hmm.
stories that get emotional and this. And I do enjoy him if I'm in a certain mood. But if I want to watch comedy, I'm not turning
Yeah,
on
it's
Mike
different.
Birbiglia.
It's different. It's different. Yeah, it's a different genre. Yeah.
And there is, there are some who are more in that realm, and it's like, don't push that or do your thing, but don't say this is the female comedian everyone should watch. Almost like watch it if you like that kind of comedy.
I mean, I think it's fair to say everyone's got, like we were saying
Yeah.
before with Segura, like everyone's got their audience. And sometimes you, as a comedian, sometimes you judge it right wherever you are, like whatever club you're at, and sometimes you don't. And it's all, and or sometimes you just have bad luck, you know. So,
Oh, sure. Yeah.
or it's just sometimes it's a mismatch that you couldn't have predicted or whatever.
And
So, like, I just think everyone has to keep honing their own voice and then
yeah.
finding the people who want to hear that voice.
Yes, yeah, I agree. And I do agree also with it does make it better for everyone when the lineup is diverse. I mean, the funniest part of this in my head, again, I've got so many stupid things going on in there, so bear with me. But I had a black guy come up to me after an open mic set, and there was a ton of diversity in the open mic. It was I was probably actually a rare like youngish white guy. Actually, it was mostly not me, and he was like, "Man, you got to do black rooms because you were better than all the black guys up there." Because some of my comedy is it. I mean, it's just the way I honed it is a joke that sounds like it might be racist, but when you think about it, it's not race. I'll tell you a joke that someone actually, I told this on a podcast and someone edited it out of the podcast because they said it was racist. And I'm
Uh
like, it's not. It's the opposite. Like, think about the joke. But again, it killed with black people, but white people all looked to the black person,
to
to the
see what
black
to
people in the
do.
room,
Yeah,
and they were
yeah, yeah.
dying. But it was just, and I'm going to butcher the joke, but it was basically, I was talking about how expensive my son's school is asking for donations. Do you know how expensive a whiteboard is? Luckily, I got them to compromise and get a blackboard. They're only worth three-fifths as much.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
That's clearly not,
I
that's
see what you
clearly
did
an
there.
insult on America's past. It's not an
Yeah,
insult on black people.
I get it.
Um,
Yep, I get it. I get it. Yeah, I did a joke like that once too. Not copying, but it was a joke about, remember they were going to put Harriet Tubman on the
the
10
20,
or 20,
yeah,
and my joke was that it would be worth 70%, 70, it would be worth 30% less. But again, it wasn't about Harriet Tubman. It was about how women make
exactly. That's a good joke. Yeah.
70% of what men make. And it's right, it's the same joke basically.
Yeah,
So
it's a good one. But again, yeah, it's not being like it's just like here it is. It's not racist to say,
I can see why people were like why it took them a minute. Like I can see, and I can see why the white people looked at the black people to see what to do. I would have, but
yeah,
I understand where you're coming from. Yeah.
no, that's
It's so I mean that's like I mean just if you really want to get into it, it's I love conversations about what you like. I'm really tired of people who say like you can't make a joke about anything anymore, which is wrong. You can make a joke about any topic. You can whether even obviously racism. You can make a joke. You can even make jokes about sexual assault. You can make jokes about terrible things. The
yeah,
point is, what's the joke? Who are you making fun of? And you know, I was going to give an example that now I can't think of, but but I think because it's I understand though that if you haven't sat and thought about it a lot like we have, that it's hard to distinguish sometimes between jokes that are about that specific thing, like a specific moment, versus jokes that are about the system, like something systemic. In other words, like you could make a joke, you can't really make a joke about like an actual rape, but you can make a
Yeah.
joke about rape culture. And you can make a joke about how easy it is to get away with, or whatever. You can make a joke about how like, but he was the captain of the swim team, or like, and all that stuff. You couldn't be a rapist. Like that's still the topic, which is a very uncomfortable topic and could be controversial. But like, you're making fun of the system that keeps the bad stuff going, whether
Yeah.
it's racism or misogyny or whatever it is. And if you haven't sat and thought about it a while, and you're just kind of listening to some comedy and you're like, oh shit, I came here for comedy and that joke might have been racist. If you're not used to those, like thinking about the differences, I can see why, someone, and the jokes have to be extra good. You have to be extra careful. I don't mean
Yeah.
you, Jeff, I mean like one. um you know but as you can see, I love talking about this because it's a common question. I'm sure people ask you or whatever all the time, like, but can you really make jokes about that? Or is there anything that's off limits? Or, and the answer is no, as long as it's a good fucking joke
Yeah. As long as
that
you've got
makes
a
fun of the
joke
right people, that makes fun of the right element of the
and
thing.
yeah, well, and it's just as long as it's got, I mean, yeah, yeah, and it's the other thing is I said to people, and not the greatest example of a person, but this was not to talk about him. It was just I remember someone recorded a Louis C.K. joke about Parkland, and I don't think I ever even heard it. But he's like, I was trying out new material. Like, you have to understand that like, it's one thing if it makes a guy special, you know? If a guy's trying out material and he misses the landing on the joke, everybody who's ever done a stand-up set has missed the landing on a joke. Maybe not on a sensitive
Everybody.
topic, but it's
Yeah.
going to happen.
Yeah.
It can be as simple as slipping up when you're saying the punchline.
Right.
You miss. I do remember I have a video of my very first stand-up set, and one of the punchlines, I just said the words in wrong order. It got the point
Yeah.
across, but it wasn't a joke. It
Yeah.
just made it not funny. Like, it's that meticulous attention to details that makes someone great. So it's like that little thing, and I'm not saying I was any good or that the joke was even good, but it's like that ruined a joke. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean that I should be, it wasn't on a sensitive topic. I was making fun of
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I should be canceled or thrown out. And I don't think cancel even exists anymore. It's a weird
Listen,
fucking culture.
it does not exist, because I will tell you right now that I just saw that Louis C.K. has two full nights of his own at the New York Comedy Festival in November. Like,
Hmm.
no one got canceled. And I'm not defending
Mm-mm.
Louis C.K. I think I don't defend any. I'm finished with Louis C.K. But the point is, he's fine. Like, no,
Yeah,
he's
he's fine.
fine. He just found a new audience. I'm not necessarily happy or sad that he's fine, but the point is, don't tell me he was canceled.
No,
He's
no.
fine.
The
He was not
closest
canceled.
the closest thing to being canceled, I think, out there is probably Chris D'Elia, and it sounds like the
Uh,
comedians who knew him are not upset about that. Like,
Maybe
it
there's
sounds like,
that.
yeah,
That's
he
really
was a
true.
creep. Like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
he's also fine. He was rich before he started doing stand
Yeah.
up.
He'll be fine. He'll be fine.
But yeah,
Yeah.
his career may be over. But again, like, yeah, like Bill Cosby deserved. Like, there's a
Yeah.
difference between, like, O.J.
Crimea
Simpson
River.
didn't nobody was sympathetic for him being canceled. He did something pretty terrible.
Right.
Uh,
Crimea River. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, there's just no such thing. There's really just no, I mean, I understand
no,
you pointed out a couple of
there's not.
exceptions, but like, you're going to be fine. Like, I'm not saying that that's good that you'll be fine, but like, there's no such thing.
Right,
If you're
right. No,
canceled and filling, and he's filled bigger rooms than that. That's just New York. That's just New York Comedy Festival. I
yeah,
mean, it is 2 nights, but still.
he had to probably work very hard, but he also did
I don't think
some
he worked that hard.
questionable things,
I don't
we'll
think he
say.
worked. Oh, he did work that hard back in the day when he was funny. Yeah, he did work hard because he was funny. But
Well, I know he had to set up I mean, I know his business model now is like everything's through the website, and there was
yeah,
some
yeah,
work, but he had money, so that helps with
that's
everything.
fine. That's fine.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I'm not sympathetic for him.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and you know, I don't know, and I'm not throwing stones at him either because I don't personally know what happened. At the very least, he's a creepy dude. But
Yeah.
I have heard some women comics defend him and say, no, he asked, and I said, yeah, and I thought it was funny. But
Yeah, but
it's a weird thing
that's
to
not
ask.
a weird thing to ask, and
And there's some
that's
power
not going to be
dynamics. Yeah,
everyone.
there's a
Yeah,
lot. There's a
power
lot.
dynamics. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot there. But yeah, so I'm not. Yeah, but in essence, yes, nobody actually gets canceled, and if you do,
But do you know who suffers is like, okay, so there were a few women who were like, oh, fine, whatever, and who didn't care. Fine, teach, that's whatever floats your boat. But then all the women who decided that they couldn't be in a green room with him anymore, right? Like I used to, I'm not
hmm,
friends with him. I mean, but I used to see him in the green room all the time. And I mean, we were like, hi, hello, like that was it. But it was a crowded green room, so nothing weird happened. But the point is, who are all the women who was, that was a Catch a Rising Star where you needed to be in order to be. That was the catch in New York, where there were a few clubs where you kind of needed to be a lot in order to build your career, at least in
hmm,
New York City. And like, what about all the women who were like, I cannot be in the green room with that guy, and so therefore, and no one at Catch was. I'm not impugning Catch. Actually, Catch had good management, but I'm just saying. I'm just using it as an example.
yeah,
Whatever club. Uh, decide that they can't be in the green room with this dude. And therefore, I'm not going to work at that club. Doesn't have to be Catch, any club. I'm not going to work at that club. And then all of a sudden, this entire avenue of opportunity is cut off for you, even if he never did anything to you.
right,
And so like to me, the cancel is about, it's not canceling, it's what's the uncountable lost opportunity for all the people that sort of that took themselves out of
yeah,
this person's orbit.
no, that makes a lot of
And
sense.
and they're the ones who lost. This is the guy who's still filling 2 rooms at New York Comedy Festival. You know what I mean? So, and of course, there's always another club, of course, but it's different. It's if you pull yourself out of one club in New York City, you know, that's that's a lot. There's not that
Yeah,
many clubs. It is New York City, but not that many like big deal clubs like that where you need to be seen. So anyway,
it's a. Do you think that's going away a little bit with? I mean, and I know you said gold is mostly on, you know, the internet.
yeah,
I always hated, I live in St. Petersburg, Florida, and when I was trying to get into stand up, it was like, unless I'm not going to be a parent to my kids, I
yeah,
can do like one, maybe two open mics a week.
it's
That's it.
hard. Yeah, it's
And
hard.
it's like, but I'm not moving to LA or New York and abandoning my children. So it's it always has seemed weird to me, and maybe I don't know, maybe things are getting better that it's branching out a little, but I don't know that I mean, Austin now has a scene, but that's kind of and I think Nashville has a decent. I mean, there are
Yeah, they
plenty of
definitely do.
cities with good
Mhm.
scenes, but
There are. There are.
it's gotta. I'm like, I look at again to bring him up because apparently it's Danny McBride Day, but like he lives in Charleston. He's not in New York. He's not in L.A. I think he filmed The Righteous Gemstones in South Carolina. Um,
Hmm.
and it's like that's what I want to do. I don't want to move. I have to move to have a career. I want
Right.
people to come to me.
Yeah, they should, as they should, as they should. I think a lot of cities are, just have good scenes. I think a lot in general, it's it's better than it used to be. It's not as like weird if a woman walks on to like it's not, I think in general it's fine. But I did just talk to a working comic now who was doing road work with another two dudes and her, and she was on the road somewhere. And the this is like 2 weeks ago. And in some place that was not Chicago, New York, or LA. And they did their spots, whatever, and then and they go to the bar, and with their sets, they also got a drink ticket. So the three of them go to the bar, and the dudes order their drinks, and the bartender takes their ticket, and the other comic orders her drink, and the bartender says that's $12. And she was like, I was just, and so it's not about whether that particular bartender was paying attention to the show, because like they also have to do their job. I get it. But like there was an immediate assumption that they were the comics and she was the girl. And so, and that's, and that's just, that's still there. And as I just told you, there were these, in a well-known club in New York last month. There was one woman on each of 6 shows that night. That's just like come on, we're everywhere. Like it's just you have to like almost try to not book women. It's like you almost have to try.
Well, I was going to ask you this, and it shows my ignorance. So don't take this the wrong way. I was like, how many would you say female stand-ups there are compared to men?
I've tried
I
to
know
find
that's a
this
really
number.
weird
Yeah,
question.
I've tried to, no, it's not a weird question at all. It's I've tried to figure out this number so many times, but there's like no one actually has that census.
Right.
People can
Well,
only
because
count
you and
it.
I could
It's
be in that statistic,
right,
and
and
we
people
shouldn't
only
be.
count it. Yeah, people can count it from. They can't just tell who you are. They can't tell if you're a stand-up by walking around, because often you have a different job during the day. So like you're counted as a graphic designer, but not a whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so usually the really small samples and statistics that I've seen, or small, have still say that lineups tend to be about 70% men. But that's not a reflection of how many women there are. That's a reflection of how many women get booked.
Right.
So,
Big difference.
and so what we're trying to do is just, as I said, comedy's hard for everyone. We're just trying to flood the zone more, and just, put more of us out there and make it easier for more of us to succeed, so that we don't have to quit when there's a creep in the green room, or we don't have to, or at least limit our opportunities, so that we don't get sick of all dude sets. So that other people think it's more normal when they see a
Hmm.
woman on set or a woman on stage, and they don't freak out and they don't treat us differently, and they don't call us comedians like that, just to make it more normal for us to be around. I think will make bookers, even if they're doing it subconsciously, not feel like, okay, I booked a woman, okay, good, um so I think we just have, the more of us there are, the more it's normal that we're here, and the better it is for us, sure, because women are people and comedy is a job, but also the better it is for comedy.
Yeah, and again, and I'm not saying this to try to gain points. I want to be clear. I feel like if I were doing stand up, I would prefer to have more than one woman or of just different, like
Or
I'm
just
not going
people,
to
different
stand out.
races, anything. You're not going to stand out. Exactly. Sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, well, that's it.
Yeah.
No one's going to walk away. Like I could build a comedy lineup of white men that would be a great show. I mean,
Hilarious. Right.
yeah, Mark Norman, Joe List, Sam Morril.
Great
Me,
show.
okay, say I'm
Love
middling
Sam
in that
Morril, by the
show.
way. Yeah.
No one's going to remember me. Even if I was
Nope.
great, even if I was as good as
Even if
those
you kill.
guys,
Yep.
they're going to be like, yeah, there was a white guy with black hair. There were three of them, I think. One was definitely Jewish. The other two, I can't really tell. And then there was that bald
Exactly.
guy with no, or blonde guy with no chin. That's Joe List. Uh,
Yeah. Exactly. It's
but
better for everyone, and it doesn't take away from anyone.
no, I agree with you 100%. And that's, that's where circling back to the dream writers room. I'm like, you need like, you need people who are not offended by anything. That would be my first thing. Like, don't take, how about this idea? Don't be offended by it. Just say, no, that's no, not going
Yep.
to do that. Um, but I'm like, you need women, you need diversity, you need people from different backgrounds in there, so you're not alien. Not to, and I'm like, not to make the show woke, to make the show funny and actually the characters authentic. Like,
reflect real life and all that, and nuance and
yeah,
complexity and different senses, different styles of humor and all those things,
yeah,
different life experiences.
and right, and even to me, I'm like, just, and don't get like the token person. Get the person who actually is the person you want, and that's what like. Don't get. I always joked with. I used to work for the Rays, a baseball team, and there
I
was
can tell
a.
from your hat.
Oh yeah, there was a player I was close with who grew up in the ghetto in the Fifth Ward, I think, of Houston or something. Like it was a bad place, and he and I got along so well because we were like the same age. Everyone else was older. Um, a couple of years later, another guy comes in, and he grew up in like the rich ass part of Virginia. His dad was like super successful businessman, and I always joked with the guy who grew up poor. I always joked, well, your walk up music is just a normal fun song. His is like, yeah, I'm a gangster, and I'm like, no, you're not.
No,
You
you're
grew
not.
up. I'm way more of a gangster than you, dude. I grew up poor in St. Petersburg, Florida. You grew up in a mansion, Joe, so you're not a
You are
gangster.
emphatically not a
Yeah,
gangster.
so
Yeah.
that's the other thing. It's
Yeah.
like if you're trying to be authentic, get the people who actually have the voice you want. I'm not saying, and obviously, the he whatever his life choices were, and he was a really good guy too. He was not a bad guy. It
Sure.
was just humor. It was a joke I made with the other black guy making fun of the other black. Um, and again, that's maybe this is why I do well with black audience. It's more because I'm not afraid
Who
to.
knows?
I'll tell you this. I want to get your plugs and everything, but I'll tell you this just as you've probably asked and heard stories like this a gazillion times. The time where I first was like, maybe I should do stand up. I was in jail or in a holding cell, got arrested. My charge was resisting arrest without violence. And ironically on
Was it
Twitter,
resisting arrest with comedy?
Ironically, on Twitter, 2 months earlier, a Saints player got arrested for riding a moped in his own neighborhood. And the only thing they charged him for was resisting arrest without violence because he
Hmm.
wouldn't answer questions because it was racist cops saying black dude with dreadlocks shouldn't be here. So I'm like, resisting arrest without violence, otherwise known as being black in public.
Yeah.
And 2 months later, I got arrested for that, and they were not gentle with me. They
Well,
smashed my head against the wall. They dislocated my shoulder.
oh my God.
Yeah, they were aggressive. And I'm sitting in this holding cell, and there's only one other white guy and like 10, 15 black dudes in the holding cell. And the white dude kept looking, and he was wearing a white wife beater, had like a mullet, and I was like, I don't like the way he's looking at me like it's us against them.
Right, right,
I'm
right.
very uncomfortable with this guy. And I'm also just in uncomfortable in general because I'm in jail. And one of the black guys noticed this and he gestures to a couple other guys and what you in for? What you in for? Blah blah blah. It comes to me and I'm like, cops just beat the shit out of me, so I'm just confused. I didn't think they could do that to white people.
Hmm.
And they erupt, except for the presumably
Other white
racist
guy.
white guy. He
Right.
looked like he shit his pants. But
Yeah.
everyone else and the cops like, shut the fuck up in there. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this is fun making a group of people laugh.
Right. You guys are a great crowd. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I just hit the notes so perfectly too, because I
Yeah.
was like shitting myself. I was like, I don't know, and it was Labor Day weekend, so I'm like, I'm gonna be stuck here until like Tuesday. This is the worst
Yeah.
thing that could possibly happen to me. And I still pulled out that joke in that weird time and got the cops to yell to shut up because I made everyone laugh.
That's how
And
you know that's how you know you've arrived.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, this is fun. I should do this again sometime. Uh,
Well played, sir.
anyways, so where can people go to find Gold Comedy, find you, all of those
Thank
things?
you. Thank you. You can find us at goldcomedy.com. That's where you'll find all the magic and how you can, what you get when you pay to get past the magical paywall, which is we have an annual subscription, which is different from most places. You pay as you go by the year. Most people stay for 2 or more years because once you join, all the classes that we offer and what we call the club are included. So it really underscores the idea that you're part of a community, you're part of a network. You see the same people in classes, you cast them in your web series, you if you're shooting a web series, you crew up, from gold for the people who know production. It's a really it's great for that. And yeah, we totally have the only I had a I had a routine. We have a new class coming up on it's called a late night writing boot camp, and it's taught by a dude who has been in a million writers' rooms for late night, and has had the experience of being the only non-white dude in that room. So like he has that to bring to his whole jam. And this has happened once or twice. I had a very nice guy write to me who joined Gold and signed up for the class, and he was like, "I just wanted to check. I just want it in full disclosure. I am straight. I am white. I am a cis dude. Like, am I in the right place here?" And I was like, because you asked, yes. In other words, it's fine, because what we really promise. So what I'm telling your listeners is, like, you know, what we really promise is not like, I don't know your like, I don't. People use all different pronouns these days. Like, I don't know your life. I just know that if you join Gold, our promise to you is that we have no bro vibe. And I know that so many people, no matter what their own gender or their own experience, are just like not fans of a bro vibe anywhere. So it's really like, we're just really nice, and we get real pros as members, and also as instructors and mentors and in our professional network. So it's really like a fun, supportive, nice, challenging, great place to amp up your career and make funny stuff that gets seen.
Yeah, yeah, and connections are so important in.
Yeah, we look out for each other all the time. We even hire people. We hire members to do stuff. Like we hired our improv teacher from our members. We hired our humor writing teacher from our members because they were already accomplished. We just brought on. We just basically elevated to run our sketch program, our digital sketch program, was a member, is a member, and has been on our teams and is an accomplished producer. So, we like, you get gigs from, by joining, and just by, being part of our network. So, yeah, we have fun. Anyway, Gold Comedy. And we're also on Instagram, at Gold Comedy.
Excellent. The links to everything will be in the show notes below.
Thank you.
Uh, Lynn, I really appreciate you coming on. This was a fun and also informative. I'm blanking on
Sure.
the right word.
Insightful, enlightening,
Insightful, enlightening, all of these things. See,
all those things.
it's like you write.
It's like almost as if.
Thanks for coming on, Lynn.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for having me.